on to this. 2 weeks of monster truck racing in Louisville, Kentucky's Freedom Hall to determine the 1990 TNT World Champion. Can the Chevrolet Equalizer make it 2 titles in a row, or is the Ford Bigfoot ready to reclaim the title of King of the Monster Trucks? You're about to find out here on Tuff Trax. Again, everyone, I'm Scott Douglas. Welcome to Tuff Trax. Chris Chapman joins us in a moment, but first, Army Armstrong, we are ready to have the 3rd world champion crowned. 2 years ago, USA won and Bigfoot came down to the wire. USA won it here at Louisville, Kentucky's Freedom Hall. Last year, David Morris took the Equalizer to the championship again in this building. And this time around, the Equalizer with its new driver, Greg Holbrook, Andy Brass, and Bigfoot, one of them leaves Louisville next week with the championship.
The only thing for sure, when they pull out of the Bluegrass State, is a blue truck will be a world champion. There's been so much controversy in 1990 with the penalty given to Bigfoot crew, them having to come back with adversity, John Pyatt filling in. There's almost a Hollywood drama there. Then you got this rookie coming over, and you call him a rookie only because it's his first year driving. This kid has turned out to be a seasoned veteran in about 5 short months.
That, of course, is Greg Holbrook, who hopes to put the Equalizer back in the championship circle. The Bigfoot 8 controversy certainly was the story throughout the middle portion of the year. That truck actually banned because it was too good.
Yeah, it's a strange case of motorsports, but technology had to be slowed down. The promoters decided they wanted Bigfoot to sit on the shelf for about 2 months in order to let the other trucks catch up, and that is exactly what happened, because when they brought the Bigfoot 8 back, and Andy Brass did such a great job of driving it, everybody was in the ballpark. They had all caught him. Then they squared off to find out who the world champion's going to be, and that's where we're going to find out this week in Louisville.
These 2 state-of-the-art trucks for 1990 will decide it here in Louisville. One of the trucks that is state-of-the-art for 1991, already looking ahead, is Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher.
That truck is going to be a player for here in Louisville and also for 1991. Like you say, he actually built the truck for the 91 series, but he would love nothing better than to mess up these guys' title hopes in Louisville, Kentucky. He knows the blue truck will be a world champion, but he wants to be the last one to take a win in 1990. Let's see if he can do it.
Chris Chapman is standing by with Gary Porter.
Thanks, Scott. I'm here in front of the brand new Carolina Crusher, and it is an absolute beauty. Gary Porter, what went into putting this truck together?
It took a lot of time. You know, we've been talking about the new truck all year. We started it last November. It took us 10 months to finally get the truck out on the circuit. You know, without the help from Big A Auto Parts, my brother's four-wheel drive shop, and all my good friends back home, it never would have happened. You know, we would start with one design, and we would just about get the suspension and everything worked out on the truck, and we'd run into problems. You know, some bars, you know, would be hitting something else, or, you know, we would decide the shocks wouldn't work, and you know, it just took several different designs to finally get the right combination, you know, that I thought would work. And I finally bought some shocks from Custer out of California. They're built for desert racers. And they're a long coil-over shock. And, you know, they really work good. It makes the truck land real soft, and it takes all the bounce out of it.
Sounds like a pretty good combination here. You have had the truck out earlier this year. What kind of luck have you had?
Well, I won the first 2 races with it. I was, you know, running some other shows, and Bigfoot 8, he was at one of them, and I beat him. And, you know, I've really been impressed with the truck so far. I still have to get used to it some and get some bugs, you know, worked out of it. But the truck, it's been great so far.
Gary, tonight in Louisville's Freedom Hall, it's going to be between Bigfoot and Equalizer for the world title. Are you going to mess up their plans?
Well, I'm not really going to try to mess up their plans. I'm just going out there and run my truck the best I can. Do the best I can for myself. You know, if it messes up the deciding factor in the national points, it'll just mess it up. I'm going out there, you know, all for myself, and I'm not taking sides with either truck. I'm just going to do the best I can, and, you know, I hope the best for myself, and I hope the best for them, too.
Let's look to the future. 1991, does the Carolina Crusher, the new Carolina Crusher, have what it takes to win the National Points Championship?
I think so. Right now, I'm still working with the truck, trying to get the bugs out of it, you know, and find the weak points and everything in it. I have a small motor in it. I have a bigger motor sitting in the trailer waiting to go in if it's needed. And, you know, if they get too close next year, I'll just, you know, put a higher gear in it, put the bigger motor in, and try to blow them away.
A very confident Gary Porter and the Carolina Crusher. Scott and Army will find out a little later here on Tuff Trax if his predictions are on target.
Right you are, Chris, and he hasn't had a bad 1990 with the old truck sitting third, but look at the points. There are a few non-televised events in Hagerstown, Maryland, and in Toronto, Canada that Bigfoot dominated at, and because of that, he is going into Louisville within 5 points of the equalizer. It's just a 5-point difference between number 1 and number 2, so Bigfoot will try to overtake equalizer here today as you look at the rest of the top 10, and you can see it's close in those 6 to 10 spots, so a lot of trucks are here in Louisville battling to improve their position 1 or 2 spots, but certainly all eyes are focused on this man right here. Can Andy Brass and Bigfoot 8 overtake Greg Holbrook's equalizer at Freedom Hall in Louisville? Let's check out qualifying highlights. Bigfoot running at the same time as Dave Wysorik's Nightlife Chevrolet. The Nightlife's a good test for Andy Brass, Army Armstrong, because when he gets up beside him in qualifying, he can get a feel on how the other trucks are going to react to this course in Louisville.
Yeah, he knows Wysorik's going to run him hard, but look at Bigfoot. Bigfoot is dialed in Louisville. He is loaded for bear. There's no doubt about it. He literally flew over the finish line.
Yes, indeed. Bigfoot looking solid coming into tonight's action at Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky. 4.72. The fast time goes to Bigfoot.
This power drive brought to you by A1. A1 in town. Steak and gun.
Is standing by with Bigfoot's Andy Brass. Chris?
Andy, that ramp looks like it shot you pretty far up in the air.
Yeah, it did. You know, I was looking at the track earlier tonight, you know, and we was kind of watching the left lane because we figured that's what we was going to end up in. And the left lane's ramp did look a little steeper, and it was. It put us right up in the air.
So what do you think the ramp might, if you have to run there on tonight, do you think that could dampen your chances of winning?
Yeah, it could slow us down a little bit, but I trying to watch the race a little bit. It looked like we might have landed about the finish line.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Andy Brass and Bigfoot were so dominant in the winter months indoors. Now after having some problems outside, we're back indoors. Bigfoot may be just as dominant tonight.
You know, it's interesting. Andy was telling Chris that it might slow him down. Scott, when you're flying through the air, nothing's going to slow you down.
Let's look at another qualifying round with Bennett Clark's Clydesdale side by side with the Auto Value Special King Crunch. That's Scott Stevens. Stevens from Woodland, Texas. And of course, the good old boy, Bennett Clark from Powder Springs, Georgia.
Scott Stevenson early in the year, he wanted to finish in the top 5 for all his sponsors. Well, he's done that. He's going to be in the top 5. The question is, how's he going to wind up 1990? This qualifying, Scott, can tell us something. A whole lot of air for both trucks, Scott.
And they came across that finish line virtually in tandem. So these two trucks look like they're going to be very competitive in today's side-by-side competition. Let's watch it again, and you'll get them coming right into your living room.
Okay, now what's happened here? The TNT officials have built these ramps this way. They want the trucks to sky a whole lot. The reason is they can't go as quick when they're flying through the air.
You see Scott Stevens and King Crunch was just short of the time set down by the Clydesdale. Bennett Clark's run at 5.16. The Auto Value King Crunch at 5.19. And that is going to put those guys in pretty decent shape coming into the first round of competition. And that is just ahead right here on Tuff Trax.
Tuff Trax is brought to you by A1. A1 is how steak is done.
Superstars of monster truck racing battling for the world championship on Tuff Trax. Louisville, Kentucky's Freedom Hall about to get a look at the new Outlaw. Of course, completely redesigned from earlier in the year and from the last time these trucks were at Freedom Hall. He takes on Gary Porter's all spanking new Carolina Crusher.
I was going to say, you're talking about the new Outlaw. Well, this is a brand new Carolina Crusher. And right out of the box, one of the events that we did not televise, this truck won 2 weeks in a row. Scott, this Chevrolet can play hardball with the Fords before it's all over.
He was able to knock off Bigfoot. You're talking about Hagerstown, Maryland, but Bigfoot got to the finals those nights, and it was good runs for Bigfoot, great runs for Carolina Crusher, and he lays down another outstanding shot in qualifying here at Freedom Hall.
The handwriting's on the wall. For the chassis design in the future, they're going to try to fly them as far as they can and land soft.
You can see the time for Carolina Crusher is 4.82. Bigfoot still with fast time. His run was 4.72, so just 1/10 of a second is separating these two sensational state-of-the-art trucks. Back in the pit area, Chris Chapman has tracked down Gary Porter. Let's go down and see what Chris can find out from Gary.
Gary, how's that new Carolina Crusher feeling?
It really feels good. You know, I come over the dirt hill a little slow that time. I didn't know exactly how the truck was going to handle over it. You know, it handled it real good. I'll be coming over it faster from now on. I had a little bounce at the very end, so I'm going to go back and loosen my shocks up just a little bit, and I'll be running 100% now.
Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher again, second fastest so far, just 1/10 of a second behind Andy Brass and Bigfoot 8. This next matchup is going to be an interesting Chevy Ford side-by-side run. Now remember, this is qualifying, not elimination, but these two guys always go all out. We're talking about Marvin Smith and the Wild Hair, and on the right of your screen, John Moore's No Problem Ford.
Yeah, these guys are kind of like two old bullies on the block. Neither one's going to give in to the other guy. If nothing else, bragging rights is important, but lane choice can come out of a quick qualifying time. It looks like it'll go to the No Problem Ford, Scott.
Boy, they were close coming across that finish line. And it will be No Problem by 8/100ths of a second out qualifying Wild Hair. As we watch it again, remember, Tuff Trax fans, how good and how strong No Problem has been as of late.
Yeah, John Moore has changed his whole philosophy about driving. He's what we call now an attack driver.
He's going to end up in the top 5 for sure with that qualifying run. Jesse Berge's playing for keeps with us in Louisville. Jesse will come out now to qualify side-by-side with Johnny K, John Kwasniewski's Buffalo Tremor. These are two trucks, obviously, still trying to find the combination and hoping that 1991 will be their year.
Well, Johnny K up on a horsepower, no problem at all. Berge comes out with a brand new truck. He rode a truck earlier in the year. Comes back now with the GMC playing for keeps. He sets in the middle. He says it's a good, safe truck. He's not afraid to drive it hard and run at anybody's wall. Johnny K flexing his muscle out of the right lane, Scott. What kind of time did he turn?
It's going to be okay, not outstanding. It comes in, Army, at 5.29. That'll qualify him somewhere around 8th, 9th, 10th. Jesse Berge, 6.26. Quite slow on this track.
Yeah, but I should give him lane choice later in the evening. What they're going to do now is go outside and loosen these trucks up. They're kind of tight. It means they bounce kind of strange. They got to loosen them up now. Who's coming to the line for this qualifying shot?
It's going to be, as you can see, Equalizer and Greg Holbrook, as he will lay down a qualifying shot. He's running by himself. Army will give you the time in a second, but this is a brand new, bigger engine in this truck here with all the marbles on the line. Is this a time to make changes like this?
We're going to find out before the night's over. I've got my own feeling about it. I don't think the same way they do. That could hurt them later on, but we're going to have to wait and find out. The horsepower's there. The driving combination's there. The question is, will luck be on their side? I don't care who they are. Anybody in motorsports will tell you luck is an important part of this game.
The time for the Equalizer, third best of the evening in qualification, 4.95 behind Bigfoot and behind the Crusher. Let's go on to Chris Chapman, who's in the pits with driver Greg Holbrook.
Greg, to win the National Points Championship, a clean sweep here in Louisville is a must. How's the Equalizer holding up?
It's doing good. We just put a new motor in this week, made a few changes, try to speed it up where it be indoors, run quicker. We've been running outdoor gears the whole time.
So how'd that qualifying run feel?
It felt good. I'm just still getting used to stuff. That new motor injected on alcohol has got a lot more power than the carburetors.
And Greg Holbrook's lead has been cut down even more because Bigfoot is our fast qualifier. Here's the way we'll race in the first round. Bigfoot gets a bye run, guaranteeing him even more victorious points. No Problem takes on Nightlife. Then Equalizer has to battle a good truck in the first round, the Auto Value King Crunch. Outlaw comes out to take on Johnny K and the Buffalo Tremor. The Crusher's in the bottom half of the bracket. After Wild Hair takes on Playing for Keeps, the Crusher meets Clydesdale. Side-by-side competition at Louisville's Freedom Hall on the TNT Monster Truck Challenge with a Ford Chevy confrontation. That's the No Problem Ford Bronco and John Moore out of Lafayette, Tennessee. He takes on Dave Wysoryk's Nightlife Chevrolet from Grand Island, Nebraska.
Both of these guys are two of the strongest privateers in the sport. They do all their own work. They don't have that big buck sponsor behind them. But if intensity has anything to do with it, they run just as hard as anybody else. Keep an eye on John Moore. Oh, wheelies it up.
And that wheelie cost him. It'll be Nightlife advancing to meet Bigfoot in the quarterfinal. Bigfoot got a bye run and is already there. He'll take on Nightlife because of John Moore's wheel-standing escapade.
Wheel-stand, look, the first jump. See, Moore throttles up going over the first jump. Wysoryk dials in the horsepower. Down in the horsepower definitely certainly the way to go, Scott.
Let's send it down to the pits where Chris Chapman has caught up with John Moore to find out what happened.
John, I believe you'd had a little better chance with Mazurk if you could have maybe kept a couple of those wheels on the ground.
Yeah, I got a little too hard coming over the hill, and it went straight up in the air. I did good qualifying, and I thought I had the position going, and it just got a little too hard on the gas coming over the hill.
With a shot like that from John Moore, you know it's time for my main man, Cruncher, and the Crunch of the Week.
Cruncher here. This Crunch of the Week ain't a pretty sight. Brought to you by Glue, makers of micro machines and Tuff Trax vehicles. Are you tough enough for Tuff Trax?
Okay, Cruncher, John Moore was tough enough on this run to pull her back down. It wasn't victorious, but it was spectacular. Wow, well, when you're up there in the air, I mean, that's got to be an eerie feeling, looking straight at the roof.
Always remember, if you're not looking at the roof, you're looking at the wall on the other end of the building.
The Auto Value King Crunch will be next out of the chute. Crunch of the Week and Cruncher now dispatched from Freedom Hall. We're going to move on to see Crunch take on Equalizer in what I think is the key matchup of the first round.
Yeah, I agree that this could be the key matchup of this year. Now, Equalizer cannot afford to shoot himself in the foot. He has got to make a perfect run all night long. Will he do it? Looks good. Yeah. All right, the kid did what he had to do first time out.
At least for the moment, holding on to the point lead in the World Championship chase is the Equalizer. And again, this is really pretty simple. He came in with a 4-point lead. Bigfoot knocked 2 of those points off in qualifying, so he has a 2-point lead. Here in the first round, both Bigfoot and Equalizer gained 5 points. So Equalizer is still on top, but barely hanging on.
Greg Holbrook, we're looking at a ladder sheet over there. It looks like you might wind up with Bigfoot in the semifinals.
Yeah, first run was the first run I made with this new motor, and we made a few changes on the truck, and it's just like getting in another truck. And that time, first time is just learning. That time I just run it like I used to.
Out of curiosity, if you come back against Bigfoot, I've already talked to him. He likes the right side of the track. Do you like the left side?
Yeah, I've just had 2 passes at it and left, and it's done good so far.
Greg Holbrook, knowing that the matchup Army talks about could be the biggest one of the year a little later. Let's go to Chris Chapman. She's caught up with Scott Stevens in the pit.
How did it feel out there? What do you think went wrong?
We just probably figured out when we came back that line after that round, broke something in the suspension maybe the round before. Truck left really good, and as soon as it hit the ground, it went to the left, and it just wouldn't go straight.
Who do you feel like is going to take it here this evening?
I'd like to see Bigfoot win the whole thing.
Good luck to you.
All right, thank you.
I'm not so sure Scott Stevens is telling us the truth on that one. We'll find out a little later. When we come back, there are some problems for the Equalizer. You'll find out all about them next on Tuff Trax. Out here tonight having a better time than these 2 guys right here. Mike Wine and the Outlaw, John Kwasniewski and the Buffalo Tremor. These guys love driving monster trucks, but look at this key stat. The Outlaw has dominated the head-to-head series against Buffalo Tremor.
And that was before he teamed up with the Super Wings people for the sponsorship they've been looking for. Put big bucks up for big motors to make big horsepower. But on the other side, the Tremor's not intimidated one bit. Let's lay the cards on the table, Scott.
Another wheel stand out of the left lane. The right lane, as you face the track and face the end, nose dove Outlaw, but he wins it anyway.
Well, Mike Wine is a monster truck. Watch how smooth he is. See, he goes over. Now he throttles. Meanwhile, Kwasniewski had already jumped the throttle. It didn't work for him. The Ford goes in the next round.
He got up on the back wheels. Outlaw got down on the front wheels, and it appears that was the hot ticket. Here's Army with Mike Wine.
Mind you, fellas seem to be having a whole lot of problems with the throttle leaking. Yeah, what we did, we changed it. We had an old-style cable set up. We went to a manual linkage setup. We're running 4 ball units instead of just a regular cable. I went out and I qualified the first time. I ate 3 hours before that, and it came back up, Army. It was full throttle. You killed it yourself, didn't you? I killed it myself. As soon as it landed, I killed it to keep from hitting quarter in the side.
Let's go over to Chris on pit road with John Kwasniewski.
John, it seems like that left lane has been giving everyone problems tonight.
Yeah, I think I launched it off the line just a little bit too hard, and then the way it landed, it hit the ramp just a little bit too far in front of the ramp. I wanted it to land just a little bit faster, and I could have hit the ramp and cleared the cars, but it just didn't work that way.
Well, aside from some problems on the ramp, how did the rest of the run field?
Not too bad. If I could have got it out of the hole, it would have been a good run, but just didn't work.
Let's see how these guys watching, because Jesse Berge and Marvin Smith have been watching these other runs. Let's see if they take that into account on their shots here, because in the left lane, Jesse Berge may want to just roll the hill and then hit it.
Yeah, but what I'm looking at, the suspension, these two trucks running are the older style suspension, and I don't believe the left lane is the place to be with this setup. However, I believe it's the hot ticket if you got the new trick setup. We're going to find out.
Jesse Berge hangs in there, but the Wild Hair gets them. Starvin' Marvin Smith out of Arnold, Missouri, in the Wild Hair Chevrolet takes the victory over Wyoming, Michigan's Jesse Berge and the Playing for Keeps ride.
When replay comes up, you'll notice Berge tries his best. The short wheelbase, not the good combination out of the left lane. A whole lot of hang time for Berge, and that did cost him.
And he gets a real wild bounce at the end. And you can see, as Army talked about the newer suspension trucks landing softer, Jesse really had a lot of bounce at the end of his run. Marvin Smith's going over to see Army right now.
Marvin, all you guys that come off the right side of this track are going to be called the Wild Bunch. That is a ride.
I'm telling you what, it seems like it don't look that rough. It seems like when you come off the mound, you just kind of loft and go. All you can do is hang on.
What about the hump on the starting line?
It don't really feel that bad. You know, I thought about approaching it wide open, but I've been hitting it, coming out about 2 grand an element. When it comes up, just sets down, I hit her again. But it's definitely a heck of a wild ride, I'll tell you that. You ought to take it sometime.
No, thank you. We'll see you in the next round.
Thank you very much.
Oh, come on, Army. Coming up next is going to be the Carolina Crusher. Gary Porter's at the starting line. Army, the Clydesdale's still not in here. Is there a problem?
Okay, what's happening? They've got a problem with the truck. They've got a hole in the tire. The Clydesdale, they pumped it up. When I say they, the other team's helped him out. Porter said, I'll go in stage. You come in, go to the line, and we're going to go quick. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, which tire? I don't know, Scott. You might be able to spot from your view. Okay, the left rear tire is where the problem is.
Exactly, boy. You can see it. So what Clydesdale is trying to do, he's going to get to the line fast. Richie Schaefer, the starting official, knows the situation, trying to be fair. Porter is ready, so as soon as he stays, they're going to get the green light.
That tells you the kind of guy Gary Porter is. He knows the Clydesdale having his problems. He says, look, I'll go do what I got to do to get the race going. But let's watch this left lane. The new truck suspension. Yep.
Gary Porter looked outstanding in that lane. A great run for the Carolina Crusher, and now the tire completely flat as Clydesdale heads back to the pits. Done for this night in Louisville, Kentucky.
The only thing that happened here good for the Clydesdales, he did pick up national championship points for getting into this round. But look at the replay. That left lane everybody's been talking down on might be the quick way to go.
And, of course, Gary Porter, should he meet Bigfoot later, would have to run out of that lane. Army, he's over there now.
This is the first time I've had a chance to see the new truck, Gary. I am very impressed with it.
The truck seems to be working good. I'm going to have to start coming over the dirt hill a little bit faster. And I'm getting a little bounce down here at the end of the track. I'm loosening the shocks up just a little bit each run, you know, till I get it perfected.
Gary Porter with that new suspension, still trying to get the feel for it. But wow, when you're in the process of just learning your new machine to be this successful, as we talked about earlier, Crusher has won some non-televised events, and he's certainly a player here tonight. Looking back at the run between Equalizer and the Auto Value King Crunch, this could be the key run in the World Championship race. Equalizer won it, yes, but it appears he damaged the truck on that run. Let's go to pit road where Chris Chapman's on top of the story.
Greg, what appears to be the problem?
It just got hot, and the starter got hot and won't start. We're going to have to turn the timing back a little bit to get it to start.
Television's most powerful hour, Tuff Trax, moving into the quarterfinals as Bigfoot leads them to the round of 8. Bigfoot's first matchup will come against one of his arch rivals, Chevrolets, that being Dave Weisdorf's Nightlife. You'll remember Nightlife beat no problem in the first round. Bigfoot got a bye because he was the fast qualifier. Then the Equalizer, if he can get everything ready, comes back against the Buffalo Tremor, who was our fast loser. The Outlaw, previously a winner over the Tremor, meets the second fastest loser. The Auto Value King Crunch is still alive. Then Marvin Smith's Wild Hair challenges the brand new Carolina Crusher.
Got something. Look at what they're doing. Bigfoot has lane choice, and where does he go? Into the lane he had to run all night long. He's trying to get a handle on both sides of the track, so if he does meet the Equalizer in the next round, he'll have a handle on him. whatever he's holding looks like it could be the winning hand tonight, Scott.
Andy Brass and Bigfoot continues to lay down shot after shot. That was his fastest shot of the night at 4.66 on that run. Let's look at it again, and Andy Brass has flat got this track dialed in.
Okay, now he's coming over the hump. You can see every run, the confidence factor is building because he attacked the initial hump, goes quick first time out of the right lane.
Dave Wysork's Nightlife seems to put down a decent shot, but boy, Andy Brass is just dominant, it looks like, tonight at Louisville, Kentucky. And, well, this is kind of a throwback to some of the indoor events that were run in the early part of the year when this Bigfoot 8 truck looked so good and so strong and had a big part to play in his banishment for a couple of months. Here's Army with Andy Brass.
Andy, this thing's kind of winding down the way we're looking at it. You've done what you have to do. If Holbrook can do what he has to do, you're going to go against him in this next round.
Yeah, it is. I've been kind of watching it. Greg's been running real well with the truck, but like I said, I think the Claim Ford's been running good for us, and I think we can take her tonight.
Well, if you're going to get this kid, the earlier you get him, the better off you are as far as these points.
That's right. The earlier if we can knock him out or he can knock us out, the points are real critical for both of us this time. And so whoever can go out early, it's going to help the other guy out a lot.
Andy Brass knows what lies in front of him, a probable meeting with Equalizer in the semifinals. And while no certain race is for the World Championship, this is going to be as close as you come. But first, Equalizer's got to get by the Buffalo Tremor and John Kwasniewski. He should win it, but hey, stranger things have happened.
Look what lane he's in. Left lane. That's where I kind of thought he would go. Bigfoot is the guy showing a lot of confidence because he's dancing around out here. And every time he does something, he knows that Holbrook is aware of it. It might be a mind game, but right now, Holbrook's got to get past the New York Jimmy. He does.
Look at the bounces. Equalizer with some weird bounces, but Tremor was all over the place.
And the points lead stays identical. The dream race might be coming up. It will be coming up in the next round, Scott.
It's this simple. The winner of the semifinal round will be the points leader. When Bigfoot and Equalizer hook up here a little bit later, it has come down to that. It is that close. Wow. Army Armstrong is standing by with Greg Holbrook.
All right, Greg. If there was ever a time to bring out the heavy artillery, it'll be in the next round. You and Andy Brass, this is going to be the one.
I'm ready for him, Army. We got the truck dialed in. It's ready to go now.
He's going to be happy in the right lane. You're going to be happy in the left lane. Everything's 100%. No excuses.
That's right. We've been see who's the top dog tonight.
We'll be right back with more quarterfinals and then Bigfoot and Equalizer in the semifinal. Quarterfinal round action continues from Freedom Hall at the Kentucky Fair and Exposition Center in Louisville. The Outlaw and Mike Wine has to meet that truck. The Auto Value King Crunch. Scott Stevens out of Woodlands, Texas. Wine and the Outlaw team out of Pennsauken, New Jersey. There they come with their Superweight sponsorship, and no one comes into an arena, or for that matter, leaves an arena with more enthusiasm and trying to pump the crowd up more than Mike Wine.
Well, he's an asset to the sport, to Nick Rossi, to everybody. This guy came from out of nowhere and is really making a name for himself, and I can't think of anybody in the sport that doesn't look at this guy like he's their big brother.
Battling for the TNT World Championship, and it's not just Equalizer and Bigfoot for the #1 spot. They're battling for big bucks all through the top 10, and Mike Wine has a realistic shot at getting into the top 5.
Yeah, right now, everybody left at this point for 1990 is a top 10 truck. You're not in the top 10, you're not invited to this one. Chevrolet Ford, Outlaw against King Crunch. Outlaw Ford, Mike Wine.
By the narrowest of margins, Wine holds on as Crunch ends it in a puff of smoke. But Mike Wine and the Outlaw will advance to the semifinals against either Carolina Crusher or Wild Hair. Wine continues to run superbly. Looking at the replay, it is clear that Mike Wine won that race with a beautiful start, rolling the hump and then hitting it hard. Mike Wine and the Outlaw getting the victory. Mike with Army Armstrong.
Mike Wine just walked over to me and said it sure felt good. Mike, tell me about it.
Felt fantastic. The throttles right now, I got Crunch. I've waited all year for Crunch. This is it. No more racing. We're not going to be together no more. I got either Carolina Crusher or Wild Hair next fair, and I hope it's Carolina Crusher. My new one, his new one. Last time it's been my old one against his new one. Now it's my new one. He ain't going to beat me so easy ever again.
Chris Chapman is standing by with Scott Stevens of the Auto Value King Crunch.
Scott, Scott, nip and tuck all the way on that run.
Yeah, Outlaw's running really good. We're pretty disappointed. We're running real good all year, coming here the final race of the year, and we can't do much right. Hurt some more parts, but, Autovate, King Chris Special, we're just be ready for 91.
God, you know something? Mike Wine could go bear hunting with the switch right now. He is pumped, isn't he?
He is, and he better be pumped, because if Carolina Crusher dispatches Wild Hair, as the odds would say he will, then Outlaw has to try and knock off a truck that is running superbly and obviously is truly at the state of the art, the Carolina Crusher.
It gets down to what we were saying. The three trucks we talked about in the opening, Carolina Crusher, Bigfoot, and Equalizer, they're still in. Left lane, truck lane soft. That's the trick.
Marvin Smith and Wild Hair was in that race. Make no mistake about it. Marvin had a good run.
Yeah, he was running strong out of the right lane, but I believe the left lane is the place to be.
Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher obviously likes it, Army, and he has earned himself a spot in the Final Four, the semifinals, against Outlaw coming up in just a little bit. Again, a superb run. Boy, you can see that state-of-the-art Carolina Crusher, the exotic shocks, the new suspension design, and it looks like just a mass of bars and metal underneath. And we'll continue in this show and in weeks to come here on Tuff Trax to kind of keep you up to date and get a closer look at the brand new Carolina Crusher. Wilder had a good run, but he's out of it. The Final Four, the battle for the World Championship between Bigfoot and Equalizer. That's coming up, and then who's going to try and play spoilers tonight, Outlaw or Carolina Crusher? You're about to find out. It comes down to this matchup in the semifinals at Louisville Freedom Hall. There's this matchup, then there's another week of racing, but certainly the winner right here in the semifinals is going to take a major step toward the World Championship. Bigfoot and Equalizer. Equalizer comes into this race with a 2-point lead, so the winner of this race will take the season points lead. Chris talked a little earlier with Greg Holbrook.
Greg, this run in the semifinal run is a biggie. It's between you and Bigfoot, and it could decide the world title.
Yeah, it's going to be a real close race, but you're just going to have to pretend like just anybody else out there run your own race. Let him do what he wants to. He might mess up.
That's the word from Equalizer's Greg Holbrook. Also in the pits a few moments ago, Chris took a moment to talk with Andy Brass, the driver of Bigfoot, about what certainly will be the biggest race so far in his monster truck racing career.
Andy Brass, this could be very well the biggest race of your life. It's between you and Equalizer, and it's a quest for that national points title.
Yes, it is. The Acclaim Ford's been running real well for us tonight. We're kind of watching the track, and Greg's been doing real well with his truck tonight, We're watching, I'm trying to run the truck hard, but not run it hard enough where I'm going to break it or anything. We got one more race. It's two races, and both of them's big points. We're figuring maybe we can just lay low a little bit with the truck, save it, make two good shows instead of one killer show, and collect more points that way. We're just, like I say, we're just kind of playing the odds right now, watching how everything goes, and, we're trying to watch Equalizer. We're just going to run hard enough to beat him.
Army, what's going on with lane choice now?
I don't know. Bigfoot pushes the Equalizer the other lane. Equalizer not going to make a run. Bigfoot, Andy Brass said he wasn't going to make a run hard. I didn't buy it one bit. That's one of the strongest runs of the night. But what happened to the Equalizer is a question.
Two questions. First off, we're going to find out what's wrong with the Equalizer, but the other question, mind games from Andy Brass. He forced Equalizer into the lane he had not run in tonight.
I don't believe that the truck not running is a result of that, but he made this rookie think for a minute. Andy Brass has been holding the hot hand all night long. He's been playing mind games, and he's a new national points leader.
He is, and that may be the biggest race in his quest for the World Championship. Army is trackside with Andy Brass.
Andy, you can actually feel the electricity in the air. Was there more pressure on you for that run than any run this year?
Yeah, it probably is. Like I said, the points are getting so close that we really need them. And as we was coming into this round, I was just behind him just a little bit. So I figured, well, if I can get him this round, knock him out early, and keep on going, maybe we'll go ahead and get it to show.
Army, you might want to stay down at that part of the track. We're hearing that Equalizer thinks the kill box malfunctioned.
Okay, we're keeping an eye on the crew's going over. They're going to look at the kill box. Now, this is a safety feature. We're going to look for lights. A green light means everything's okay. A red light means there is a malfunction. TNT personnel's checking it out. Scott, I don't know.
And Mike Speller is the head check man. He is down there looking into things right now. I don't know if we can hear any of the conversation. Let's listen.
A lot of discussion going on with the track crew. Can't do anything about it.
Well, right there you heard Mike Speller say he could not do anything about it. And indeed, the win will stand for Bigfoot. Chris is caught up with Gary Cook. Chris?
I ain't
ain't never been mad at anybody beating me. That's part of the game. They beat me, fine. We'll come back and race again. But when the so-called safety equipment kills us, this is the second time it's happened to us in a major race. And you might say it cost us the point race. Nothing because of any fault of ours. The last time they said it was our truck, we replaced everything in the truck, come back to race again, and now it's done it again, and they say, no, it's our equipment.
What would you like to see done about this?
I think they ought to rerun it. If they beat us, fine, but I think they ought to rerun it.
Have you approached TNT officials about this?
They just shake their head and say nothing can be done.
Army, the World Championship's on the line. Should this race be rerun?
Well, the World Championship's on the line, but this is a race like any other race. Everybody puts a killer box in the same. It's a story of life, Scott. If you got two green lights, one on a kill box, one on a kill switch, then nothing can be redone. TNT, everybody knows. We got to wait and see. We're trying to get a hold of Mike Speller to get his comment on it, Scott.
TNT says there is not conclusive evidence that it's messed up.
Greg, I don't know if our television cameras picked up your face when you came to the end of that track earlier, but you were hot. You were saying some things to Mike Speller. What went wrong?
That's twice. Their killer boxes sorted out and killed me on the line this year. They hadn't checked the boxes. I bet they hadn't checked nothing. The same boxes we've been running with all year. You can take and shake them and hear the parts rattling inside.
Do you believe that this could very well have cost you a national championship?
Yeah, because I pulled the box out and it started right up. I was sitting there turning it over with the box in. It wouldn't start. Pulled the box out, hit it, and it started right up.
Have you addressed this with TNT officials before?
This is the second time, and I've talked about it in between races with them.
What would you like to see done? Let's just talk about next year.
They're going to have to come up with some better boxes or keep those checked between every run, whether or not they're right.
Some very bad luck for you, and I'm sorry, Greg.
Okay, thank you.
Greg Holbrook, normally very soft-spoken. I don't think I've ever seen him talk that much. Obviously, it shows how upset he is about the situation in the Army. I'm not sure everybody's really clear on how we can determine if a killer box is working properly.
Okay, the kill system, there are two electrical components. A track official standing at the end of the track holds one. That's the killer. The kill box itself that is operated by the killer goes into the truck. That's where the question is. Each one has a light on it. If a light stays green on both pieces, that means everything is go. The connections and everything are okay. However, once you trip the kill box, a light will turn red. The question I'm saying is, and I'm trying to get a TNT official to tell me, did both lights stay green or was there a red light? That'll tell you if there was a malfunction or not.
Again, the TNT official at the end of the track has, in essence, a two-way radio that he would detonate or just key it, if you will, which could kill the engine. Equalizer saying either that happened or it malfunctioned. TNT saying the radio was never tripped. Here we go. Who's going to race Bigfoot in the final?
It's set up Chevrolet versus Ford. The new style trucks will be in the final. The question of the night still, red light or green light, Scott?
We're going to address that more because we'll get Mike Speller in a minute, but let's look at this race again as Carolina Crusher is really running superbly. The new truck puts away the outlaw Ford right here.
Well, he comes out with the new shock absorbers. We were talking about them being new. They're new to our sport. They've been used in off-road for many years. They're called Custer shocks. They found a new home in monster truck racing, and believe me, they're working. Look at the left side of the truck down a little bit. He'll adjust it for the final.
Let's go over to Chris Chapman, Chief with Outlaws Mike Wine.
Mike, the Jersey Outlaw didn't sound just right.
Now, the round before, it ran fantastic. We came back out. We did some minor adjustments, which maybe we might not have done. Came over the hill strong. I got him out of the hole. Came down the hill, and I throttled it. Full throttle, it fluttered on me. I let back off of it, and that's it. 1/10 of a second. All it takes. He got ahead of me. He's good. You got to watch him. You got to run him hard. I get to run him again next week, and that's it for the national points. But I moved ahead one more spot. This night here alone, just the points of my winning so far, brung me up one more spot. That puts me 7th in the nation. Next week, I'll be 5 in the nation.
Obviously, Mike's not that upset about losing because, indeed, he is gaining in the points chase to make a top 5 finish. Let's go back to the track with Army Armstrong, who's standing by with Gary Porter.
We told Scott Douglas at the beginning of the show if there could be a spoiler in this sport, it would be you and it would be tonight.
Army, this truck, it was built to win races. You know, I'm not out here picking sides. You know, I know this might be a deciding factor in who wins the points, but I'm just out here, you know, for myself, and I would like to thank everybody back home that helped me build this truck. I mean, when we was out testing, I tore the truck up pretty bad, and we didn't have but a couple of days to get to the first race, and we worked on it 24 hours to get it ready, and I would like to thank my brother and Hugh James and Tracy and Greg back home for helping me all the time.
Back to the Bigfoot Equalizer controversy. Does Equalizer have evidence that, one, either the killer radio box was tripped by TNT, or two, that the killer radio box broke and malfunctioned? If either happened, the race should be rerun. Let's find out from TNT official Mike Speller.
Mike, how can you tell if a kill box has malfunctioned?
Well, I don't think that, first of all, the kill box did malfunction. It was green when he gave it to me. He said it stopped him. So I took he took the kill box out, give it to me. I looked at it, it was green. I told him to put it back in the truck and start it. It started. Then I killed it with my handheld. It turned red. So as far as I'm concerned, the kill box worked fine.
Is there any way you can tell whether or not at the time he went to that line, if it did indeed kill him?
No.
So do you think, in all fairness, you should let him come back and try it again?
No, because then I think you probably have guys, that could just turn into a huge problem. That'd be an excuse that everybody'd be using. And as long as that's green when they come to me, I got to say that the box worked fine.
And Mike Speller is the man with the final word. So it's Carolina Crusher and Bigfoot in the Monster Smash Finals. And it's coming up next. The finalists at Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky. The Monster Smash, and Bigfoot's done it again. He's forcing Carolina Crusher into the other lane after Crusher had run off the left side all night.
Now, what you're going to be looking at is the Chevrolet Ford New Wave Final. This is a new technology, and it all winds up in the final shot of the night in Louisville, Kentucky.
Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter, a truck that had just been out for a few weeks, and really our first chance to look at it on TV. He goes after Bigfoot, but he didn't get him. Bigfoot wins it here, and that gives him even more championship points.
We're down to one race to go. Next week on Tuff Trax, can Bigfoot hold on to be the world champion? Man, if he does, he came from nowhere to do it.
But he's going to go in with a solid advantage, and really, it is now Bigfoot's world championship to win and Bigfoot's world championship to lose. That man, Andy Brass, is in control.
Congratulated by his crew. Andy, making it real short and sweet. In order to be the world champion, all you have to do is show up in Louisville, Kentucky next week.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a good run. But like I say, the acclaimed Ford's been running good for us. We just run just as hard as we needed to run tonight. Tried to save the truck. We got one more race, like I say, for the points. And we wasn't, like I said, we wasn't pushing hard early because there was no need to. We're trying to save the truck and make sure we make a good run here next week.
Let me ask you a question about the incident with the kill box. What happened out there?
Well, that's hard to say. I wasn't running, I wasn't in Greg's truck or anything. It's an incident that happens once in a while. It's happened 3 or 4 times throughout the year. But, these boxes are mechanical. Things go wrong. They go out, It's hard to say. It's a tough decision to make. But, if they was going to do that, they should have did it earlier in the year. And if they was going to let the guys run over. It's just a thing. My box, I got the first box tonight. When I put it in, kept falling out, and I was just like, I need a new box. It's up to the driver's responsibility to look at the box and make sure it's going to stay in there and stay on. Some of these boxes they've been run all year. They're starting to get old, wore out. They're not fitting right. So it's a lot the driver has to take that in consideration when he runs, that he should check his box.
Next week you could be the world champion. Good luck to you.
Well, thank you, Army.
A major step in Louisville's Freedom Hall taken on this Tuff Trax edition by Andy Brass and Bigfoot. He now has the points lead by 4 over Greg Holbrook's Equalizer. Bigfoot's just going to try to tread water and keep up with and not get hurt early against Equalizer next week. Crusher, Crunch, Kong all look solid in the points, but Outlaw could make up some ground next week trying to move into the top 5. Let's go to Army with Gary Porter. Army?
Looks like he might be the 1990 world champion. Do we have to watch out for you in 91?
I think so. They've had this truck out a year. They've got all the bugs worked out of it. Andy's really driving it good. I've had my truck out about 5 weeks now. I hadn't got the bugs out of it. I haven't got used to driving it. I'm still down on the horsepower, but I'm going to make a lot of changes before next year.
Tuff Trax has been brought to you by Z-Rex Antifreeze Coolant. It pays to remember the temperature never drops below Z-Rex. And Tuff Trax has been brought to you as well by Game Boy from Nintendo. Your power to go. See you next week when we crown a